My wife left me for a guy who promised her the world, only for her to discover he can't even afford his own rent and is now relying on her. Hey Reddit. My wife of 8 years left me for a guy she claimed was her soulmate. She told me they had a connection that transcended everything we had. According to her, he was ambitious, driven, and ready to give her a life of adventure that I supposedly couldn't. For the record, I thought our life together was pretty decent. We had a house, stable jobs, and even had plans to start a family. But, apparently, I wasn't exciting enough for her. When she finally left, she painted a picture of this guy as some kind of knight in shining armor. He promised to take her on extravagant trips, buy her everything she wanted, and show her the world. And she bought into it. Hook, line, and sinker. I was heartbroken, sure, but I was also angry. I mean, I had loved this woman with everything I had, given her stability, and made a genuine effort to make her happy. Still, she left. In some weird way, I guess I accepted it, hoping maybe she'd be happier with him. But it didn't take long for things to unravel. About 3 months after she moved in with him, I got a call from a mutual friend. He told me that my ex was now the primary breadwinner in their relationship because, surprise surprise, her new guy couldn't keep a job. Not only was he failing to provide all the luxuries he promised, but he also couldn't even afford his half of the rent. Apparently, he'd been hopping from one low-paying gig to another, never able to hold down a steady job. He had no savings, no real plan for the future, just empty promises. At first, I felt vindicated. After all, this was the soulmate who was supposed to give her everything she claimed I couldn't. But then, the more I thought about it, the more I just felt sad. Sad for her, and a little bit for me too. I genuinely wanted to move on, but it's tough to shake the feeling of betrayal when you've been replaced so easily. Anyway, that's where things stand. I'm trying to rebuild, but I can't deny that hearing about her struggles with Mr. Wonderful adds a strange twist to my healing process. Update. So a lot has happened since my original post. It's been about a month, and things just keep getting stranger. After learning that my ex was basically supporting her new guy, I figured it was only a matter of time before she realized he wasn't all he was cracked up to be. But I didn't expect things to go the way they did. Out of the blue, I got a call from her. I hadn't spoken to her directly since she left, so it was pretty shocking. At first, I thought maybe she was going to apologize or at least try to make amends. But no, she wasn't reaching out to apologize, she wanted advice. She started complaining about how her new guy was lazy, how he never helped around the house, and how he spent most of his time playing video games instead of looking for a job. She seemed genuinely frustrated, almost as if she hadn't seen this coming at all. I couldn't believe the nerve. Here she was, asking me, her ex-husband the one she left for this guy, for advice on how to fix things with him. I managed to keep my cool and told her that maybe she should have thought about all of this before leaving. I reminded her that stability and trust aren't things you can just throw away for the next shiny thing that comes along. She got defensive, of course, and accused me of being unsupportive. Unsupportive. As if I owed her anything at this point. I told her I couldn't help her and ended the call. It was surreal, honestly. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her, but mostly, I was just baffled. Another update. It's been another few weeks, and, as you might guess, things have continued to spiral for my ex and her new guy. A mutual friend told me that she's been venting to anyone who will listen about her new reality. Apparently, not only is he still jobless, but he's also started borrowing money from her friends and family, without her knowledge. She only found out when one of her friends casually mentioned it to her, thinking she was in on it. According to our friend, she was absolutely humiliated. She confronted him about it, and instead of taking responsibility, he doubled down, saying she was the one with a job, so what was the big deal? They had a huge fight, and she actually kicked him out for a night. But here's the kicker, he showed up at her doorstep the next morning with a bouquet of flowers, telling her he'd change. She let him back in, even though he had done absolutely nothing to prove he'd actually change. I know I shouldn't care, but hearing all this stuff secondhand has been weirdly satisfying. It's almost like I'm getting closure in a roundabout way. The guy who was supposed to give her the world turned out to be a complete mess, and now she's the one dealing with the fallout. The stability and boring life she left behind suddenly doesn't seem so bad, does it? I don't wish ill on her, but there's something poetic about it all. I never thought I'd be the one coming out of this with a sense of peace while she's the one stressed and disappointed. Life has a funny way of flipping the script, I guess. Final update. Here we are, the final update, and it's a big one. My ex showed up at my door last night. I was sitting on the couch when I heard a knock, and to my complete shock, there she was. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. I invited her in, mostly out of curiosity, and she just started talking. She admitted that she'd made a mistake. She told me that the promises her soulmate made were empty and that she felt trapped. She'd been paying their bills, managing the household, and even covering his personal expenses. She said she missed the life we had, the stability, the shared responsibilities, and the trust. She wanted to know if there was any chance we could work things out. Honestly, I didn't expect her to say any of this. I'd moved past the heartbreak, And I had started seeing a therapist to help me process everything. I realized that I deserved better than someone who'd trade stability for fantasies. So, as much as part of me wanted to rub her mistakes in her face, I didn't. I just calmly told her that I'd moved on, that I was working on rebuilding my life, and that I couldn't see myself going back to someone who'd thrown everything we had away. She looked like she was about to cry, but she didn't argue. She just nodded, said she understood, and left. I watched her walk away, and for the first time, I felt completely free. I don't know what her future holds, but I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for. As for me, I'm finally ready to move on and find my own happiness without the baggage of the past holding me down. Epilogue. After all this, I've learned a few things about myself and relationships. Love and excitement are important, sure, but there's so much more to a real partnership. I think we all want to believe in grand promises, in soulmates who'll sweep us off our feet. But at the end of the day, it's the small, quiet things that make a relationship work. I don't know what's next for me, but I know I won't settle for anything less than someone who's willing to be there through all the ups and downs. Thanks to everyone who's been following along and offering advice. Your words have helped more than you'll ever know.